gushing testimonials, gushing reviews.
I either get ones which are short and to the point, or I get ones which are overflowing. And the trouble is, I'd rather have the short and to the point. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome one and all to another one of my live streams. I'm always overjoyed to share the studio space with my dear friend David Chernick, and of course myself, Gareth Wax of the many purple hats. I'm up to 16 purple hats now. I have over 114 hats in total, but of which 16 are purple, and so I feel justified by using the word many. Now, interestingly enough, today we're talking about testimonials and what is the right testimonial that will help you actually get there to close them. Because I think if we were to talk about what is the point of a testimonial, my point of having a testimonial is to reassure the reader that I'm a safe pair of hands, that they're likely to get the result they were looking for.
This came about from a conversation that we had last week, you and I, about testimonials, because I've been used to, I always get like messages from clients, and they tend to be quite gushing. And if I have the thought at the time to say, oh, could you put that on LinkedIn or something like that, which I don't do in any kind of disciplined way at all. I kind of just like move on to the next one. Then occasionally they'll write something up, and they're always quite gushing, and oh, David, you're so amazing, really helped us, and oh, the results were just fabulous, and it's great. It's lovely to have that positive feedback. I mean, I must say that I'm not too dismissive of them. That's the wrong word, but I kind of often feel like you don't know what went into the work, so you're not really qualified to comment in a way, and I know the gigs are good and the results are good, and I look at numbers like in my sales, and that gives me the affirmation. But
here's the thing, they went into it with you with a picture in their mind's eye, a thought, and if you've created something that satisfies that original need, then take the compliment, take the praise.
So look, I try. I mean, probably part of it is wrapped up in my mental health issues as well, which is something else that I've been talking about this last week. But the point is can they be useful in business? Now, obviously, I use these. I get my clients to use them. I get my clients to use them big time on a social proofing. Whenever my clients have got a call to action, or that closing bit of a proposal, or those parts of a sales presentation at the beauty parade event, when they come in and see the board now, then down to the last 2 or 3, to have the social proofing to back up the claims that you are making, great. I really get that. But we had that conversation last week about what makes a testimonial good at doing that particular task. So I'm interested in closing deals. So what does the testimonial have to say in order to help you close the deals? Because, as we discussed, it might not be enough just for them to say, give you a gushing review. But I've done some of my own desk research, and I cannot find much. The only research I can find about what makes testimonial are from testimonial providers or marketing providers. They're not backed up by any data, right?
Okay, well,
my ASD friend, who would be obsessed with looking at, actually, what are their factors? What are the most influential factors in a testimonial? This is what I need my people to see. Hit us.
There are 3 factors. 1, you want to reassure them that the person giving the testimonial is a real, live human being. 2, you want to reassure the person reading it that you or your outfit or whoever is writing it is capable of doing the work involved, so has skill. And 3, and this is most important, you want to say the word recommend. Because if it doesn't say the word recommend, it's not a business instrument. And I'll explain what I mean by a business instrument. A business instrument is something that helps someone else make a business decision. And that means it helps them reassure themselves that they are spending their hard earned on something that is likely to produce results. And probably, if we're talking from a business standpoint, rather than from your other work, it's one that's going to affect their bottom line positively. So
right. So before we delve in a bit more detail to those, I need you to tell us, how did you come by that realization? I want to know, your own lived experience and, possibly data.
Okay, so I've worked on recently. I worked out it's nearly 800 LinkedIn profiles I've worked on, and I've given advice to a similar sort of number of people, a modicum of which have turned into ongoing clients. By the way, on a side note, just because you're giving someone advice and they don't turn into a client, I think your attitude should be turn them into your best marketing asset. So they should be able to talk about you and your processes and then help inform others. And that's indeed come to pass. But during that process, a lot of what I do, because I work pretty much exclusively on LinkedIn, is about getting those recommendations, which are LinkedIn's version of testimonials, and they're pretty much one and the same thing. The only difference is a LinkedIn testimonial, LinkedIn recommendation. You can't fill it in for them. For if you what I mean, I know I'm being tried.
That's why I like having them on LinkedIn. That's why when I have had the presence of mind to reply to somebody,
they feel real, don't they? They feel that they don't feel conjured up by you, that somebody else contrived is a better word, so as to fit your narrative. They feel like they are someone else's musings, and because of that, they have an essence of veracity. They feel real and truthful. So, and I've been trying to work out which of these work, and I've found the following. Because we tried different ones just to see, and then I ran them by other members of my clients to have a look at the client that we're working on. Do you feel that makes you feel like you'd want to invest in them? Certain ones I prefer it when it's very black and white. So I prefer it when they say no, absolutely not, or definitely yes. So the absolutely nots were ones which were like War and Peace. If they look like the Magna Carta, most people tend to only read the first one or two paragraphs, and then they get bored, or something comes along to distract them. Oh, they're gone. And we live in a world that seems to be continuously accelerating, and the amount of time that people allocate for imbibing new information is ever reducing. So, whereas, I mean, these are stats I know. Pre-pandemic, the average dwell time on a profile on LinkedIn was 14, 15 seconds. During the pandemic, it shrunk to about 2 or less.
Wow.
And that was, I couldn't work out why. What's changed?
Well, where'd you get that data from?
Well, LinkedIn actually monitor dwell time.
Okay.
So you can get that kind of information now. But the point is, and the increased use of the mobile app. And the mobile app, because of modern behaviors on mobiles, we live in the Tinderverse, don't we? And in the Tinderverse, people go,
right.
oh, don't like him, like them, don't like him, swipe, 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 swipe. So they're using LinkedIn and other apps a bit like Tinder. They're making skin deep decisions based on instant information as quickly done as you like.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
In the same way,
we don't want War and Peace. We need it to be much more.
Also, it needs to cover those bases.
What do we need them to say? So
it needs to reassure people reading it that the person that you're reading about is human. And one of the best ways is to say where you met them. So I was recommended them I met them through, I attended an event where they were, I was introduced to them by. Any of these sort of things reassure people that they're normal, commonly garden human beings, right? Not a bot, real person. Then the next thing is, well, how do we assure them of what you're capable of? Well, they should somehow, in the testimonial, in the recommendation, it should say they undertook to help improve the way in which my sales force was attacking the coalface and bringing in sales. And by the end of it, by golly, they were. And then the last most important thing, anything else becomes redundant after this, which is, would you recommend them to others? Because if you don't put the word recommend, the R word, as I call it, if you don't put that in there, then what you're saying is that David, he's a lovely fella, which doesn't sell. It just makes you likable. If you say that David's a lovely fella, he does what he said he was going to do, which was help my sales team improve, and I recommend him to you, or I would strongly recommend him, or cannot recommend enough, any of those. What you're doing is standing behind your previous statements and saying, I back this up with my presence. That turns it into a business instrument, because it means it's an ability. What I mean by a business instrument is something that helps you make a business decision. And the business decision, am I going to invest hard-earned money and time into this character?
So we went through, so we discussed this, you and I, last week, and you sent me some homework. I don't know if you remember. So you sent me some homework. It was twofold. One was to go through the testimonials that I have got and pick out ones that seem to fit that formula. And I put them on my website. So now at treacle.com/reviews, I've picked out those ones and highlighted those.
Very cool.
I have done it. And the other piece of homework you sent me was, you said I should go out to, find a handful of my clients and go out to them and ask them specifically, what was it like working with David Chernick? Now, I did this on my other business, my side hustle, you could call it, my events business. So I've sent out a handful of those the other day, specifically asking, what was it like to deal with David Chernick? Not so much about the outcome, which, are always with a party that I throw, amazing parties.
Here's the logic behind it for me. If they've given you a video testimonial, even without opening it, the assumption must be by the viewer that the outcome was good. Otherwise, why would there be a video testimonial?
Yeah.
So
it's kind of I must say, I might just to share the experience that I had in asking for it. I found it a little bit cringy. I felt a bit self-conscious, specifically asking for a testimonial. It's lovely when you do a job and then you get an email saying, "Oh, Dave, that was brilliant," or "I just closed this deal," or "That party was great," or whatever it was as a result of your help. But to actually go and ask them for it, for me, if I found it cringy, I'm sure other people would find it even more cringy.
I think you should find it cringy. But the only way I say to anyone listening to this, if they find it cringy, do this. Blame me. And the way
well, that's what I'm doing, I suppose, with this, isn't it? I'm saying it was not, he made me. Gareth Wax made me ask you. In fact, the wording I used when I was asking people was, I've been told that I need to improve my marketing. Something along those lines. Would you mind spending 30 seconds just recording?
But I bet you
what it was like to deal.
I bet they went, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
They did.
And there was no issue. And the reason part of that was, it wasn't you asking for it. What you said was, I've been advised by somebody who I esteem to do this differently. Would you help me do that? And instead of they're thinking, why the hell are you asking me this? It's, oh, well, if you've been advised it, I better do it.
Yeah.
So I said to anybody else, if you want to get those testimonials, just say, I've been here listening to Gareth and David, who are specialists in this field, and apparently it would improve the way in which I come across on LinkedIn, in my testimonials, on my website. if I could get testimonials or recommendations that follow the following protocol, how we met, what we did together, would you recommend me to others? If you can do something as short and as sharp as that, that would really help me. And the truth of the matter is, David, I mean, like when you're checking up on people, maybe you look on LinkedIn and you read that, you're reading down their profile and you get to the recommendations. If something is like 10 paragraphs long, you know, would you read all of it?
I mean, I might, but probably not. I mean, I will read the headlines. The rest,
And you'd skim read it.
Yeah.
Right.
At best.
So therefore, if you can make it punchier and gets to the point, you're far more likely to take in the import, right?
So with the ones that I put on my website, I have highlighted. I made as the subject of each one, whatever they headlined it with. So it does create a bit of a headline. And if anybody wants to have a look and give me feedback on it, that would be fantastic.
I didn't even know you'd done it.
Treacle.com/reviews.
I'm going to go and check after this.
Thank you.
Not at all.
But I do have one. I do have one other quick question for you, which is that having got these video testimonials of people gushing about you, what do you do with them? I mean, what I would tend to do with testimonials is I scatter them into, I sort of scatter them into proposals,
right.
Where we're trying to back up our claims that we're making. But I mean, would you post them on your social media just as they come in, just stick one on there as a bit of content, or would you edit some together and make it like a sort of?
I'm going
too many questions.
I'm going to be editing them together for you today anyway. That's one of my tasks for today.
You do that for me?
Yeah, of course.
Wow, okay. Well, I'll send you some more then.
Well, I need 3 in total, really, is the ideal.
Okay.
The whole part of it should be almost like a show reel. And it should almost be, yeah. And we put on there, look, I think we can do the job for you. I believe we can do the job for you, but you don't have to listen to me. Why don't you instead listen to my clients? That's one thing. Another one, if you rock up to an event, a BNI or whatever it is, let's say a virtual BNI or not, and you say to them, because you usually have a 30-second or a 60-second round, and I could say many wonderful things about what we do for people, but I'd far prefer to have my client speak for me. QVT.
Yeah. I've seen that done at BNI meetings. Yeah.
Well, I think it's, look, what's more powerful than someone saying, I went in with this idea, I used his services, and by the end of it, I achieved this goal. Rock on. That is, to me, the ideal. It's difficult to argue with that.
Good. Excellent. Well, so I'm a guinea pig. It'd be good to hear what other people do for their testimonials.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be great to hear what other people do with their testimonials, if they do anything. And by all means, just share the link to wherever your review sites are and your testimonials. I'd love to read what other people's testimonials are about them.
Well, it would be great. Look, guys, as usual, it's been delightful chatting about these topics. Specifically, if you want to hear about more or similar or completely different topics, it'd be great if you get in touch with you. I tend to put out these pleas, and then I get people countering me at networking groups, and I keep asking, why don't you write something on the damn thing? And people just don't want to commit themselves, I guess. But that's fine. If you find anything that we're doing useful and you want to see more of the same, please give us a steer. It's really helpful to hear from people like yourselves that, and it's reassuring to us that our musings actually do lead themselves to helping people do better. But anyway, as ever, thank you, David, for sharing this marvelous platform with me today. And I wish everybody all a wonderful week. Not working, is it, Dave? Not working.
This one works.
There you go. Wonderful. There you go. I wish everybody a safe and wonderful week, and of course, great mental health.
Cool. Ciao.